The Chiefs get a better grade in this draft than most expect, especially for this draft. And what did the rest of the AFC West do? We're going to go over it all today and give out our grades on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Net, your team every day for free on every platform, starting with YouTube and then echoing out through the audio sphere. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on YouTube right now to make sure you're getting the episodes as soon as they release. The bell will come in handy for that. We're going to go over today not just how we feel the Chiefs did in terms of addressing their draft needs, but how every team in the AFC West did too, because there's a lot of conflicting arguments out there, and I want to have them, and I have some axes to grind with pretty much everybody in this division. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, home of the Athletic Matrix and the Draft Guide. You can find it at rogueapc.com. Also, you can find my work over on NFL33.com and RGR Football.
And I'm Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. Thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. And I do have a little bit of an axe to grind on all of these as well. Lots of questions when it comes to the Chiefs draft class from a lot of different people. And I get it to an extent, but I think it goes a little far as well.
Yeah, I have to say that. It's one of those things that everybody looks closer because it's in the division, right? And that makes sense because you're going to play everybody twice a year without fail. You know each other well, and that comes down to it. So when we take the Chiefs draft class to start with here, and we'll get to each team here in the division, but when you take a look at the fact that they got the edge rusher first, came back with the wide receiver, then the offensive tackle, and then filled in, for me, that's checking boxes off the list. That's accomplishing goals and filling in your immediate three needs with your top 100 picks and coming back with guys that they identified that they feel have the upside to compete on a Super Bowl caliber roster. That means something to me. So in a down class, and I honestly think this draft class overall is a little bit down, I think this is still a solid B after reflection. I might have been a little higher on it on draft night or draft weekend, but there's no way around the fact that you got done what you needed to get done as an organization.
And that's why I'll give it a B+, because to me, they hit their top three needs. Their biggest three needs that they needed to get figured out, they hit them all, and they hit them in the top three picks. And quite frankly, I get why people want to say that they reached it at certain positions. You can say what you want about FAU, but I think he was really close to being a guy that could have gone, in the next 10 picks, regardless of what happened. And then you look at, Rashee Rice. People have him ranked all over the place. So those two picks I'm pretty good with. Wanya Morris is a guy that I think is all over the place as well. I think that some people had him much lower just based on, inconsistencies. If Kansas City thinks that they can solve that problem with his inconsistencies, there's going to be a lot of value here. And that's why I kind of hate giving grades this early on a draft class. But I'm going to give my grade based on the fact that they hit all their big needs. And they added additional depth that should be able to compete for the roster spot at three of the other four positions at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. I think grades now on any of these drafts is about identifying talent and addressing needs, filling out your roster, right? Then we can talk about whether you were able to hit the upside. Can somebody grow into the player they want? That's a 3-year removed evolution. In fact, today we should probably discuss the fact that the Chiefs are amongst the teams that 4 years removed from the 2020 class, or 3 years, or whatever the designation is, for setting that 5th-year option. The Chiefs have declined Clyde's. We talked about that yesterday with Matt. But news came out today. The 15 players have been declined their 5th-year option in the first round from that draft in particular. And I went through and I admit I was looking for something specific and I found it. Every single linebacker and running back in the first round of that draft was declined their 5th-year option. What does that tell you about, A, what the Chiefs did, and B, what the league did with that draft, which might have been the closest one to this one, I think, in reality, about the way things are going to work out?
Well, I think one of the things it tells you is if you look at the positions that did probably get picked up, defensive end, tackle, wide receiver, maybe even in QB, those are the guys that are going to have their 5th-year options picked up. So those are the ones that you have to really wonder about. And when you start talking about linebacker and running back, you're talking about two positions that don't have a lot of positional value. Yes, they're valuable on the football field, but positionally speaking, they don't have a lot of positional value. Running back is one of those that really doesn't have positional value regardless of who the running back is. Linebacker is a little bit different. If you're very, very, very elite, that's a little different, but that's a very high distinction.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the fact that they come back and what the Chiefs end up with in Shamari Connor, who we then found the story that maybe the Chiefs were even higher on him in the third round. I had Wanya as a mid-fourth, so they were a little early on him in my book. I had Connor down at the bottom of the fifth. So they clearly feel that he is, I think, more of a nickel than he is a safety, but I think he can do both. Obviously, B.J. Thompson can do both. Keandre Coburn is a guy that I think can get into a rotation and play meaningful snaps as a rookie. And for another 6th-round pick, just like Trey Smith, he might be the steal of this draft.
Yeah, and you start looking at the Chiefs draft class, and you have to wonder, where is this really going to be in 2 years? Where is this going to be in 3 years? Heck, for that matter, where is this going to be after this next year? You have to give this class a chance to get in and play and see how they end up. I mean, I will say this. I liked some of the picks last year, but I didn't expect the corners to come in and be able to do what they were able to do. Even Leo Chanel in the Super Bowl proved that he belongs on this roster with some of the stuff he was able to do. There were a lot of picks last year that people questioned, how is it going to fit in? And Kansas City showed how it did.
Yeah, I agree. So what did the rest of the division do? Well, they generally just irritated me all weekend, but we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And who helped themselves get closer to the Chiefs in this coming season? We're going to start with Los Angeles Chargers right after this.
And I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need to test the best tasting protein bar ever, Built. You have to try these. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That is real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't have to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club while you still get your specialty flavors at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream bar, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box of hit flavors, brownie batter puff, and churro puff. You can thank us later.
I might thank you later. We'll see what happens. Well, let's start with everybody's favorite, and it is almost that time, folks. This week is going to be all about the 2024 draft. I've got my top 100 prospects already on my board, and we're starting in on those on NFL 33 and Rogue APC, so we can give you the information you need. But while the mocks for 2024 first round are starting to come out this week, and yes, I'll probably do at least a list, if not a mock, on NFL 33. The next thing that falls is all the talking heads predicting the Chargers to take this division this year. It's about that time, right? And then we're going to hear it all summer long. Isn't that about the normal schedule?
Yeah, a little bit. Or if it hasn't already happened, which I'd be surprised if it hasn't already happened. You start looking at this Chargers team and look at what they could do. I think this is going to be more up in the air than anybody than the past several years. You start looking at the completely change on offense, and while it should be good with Kellen Moore, you would think, are there going to be growing pains early in the year?
I think there has to be when you look at what they did. So here's the rundown for the Los Angeles Chargers. They went almost exclusively Horned Frogs. That's an interesting direction to take. While Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles are doubling down on every national champion Georgia Bulldog they can get, these guys decided to go with the team that got their tails handed to them by those Bulldogs. Quentin Johnston at 21, a guy rumored in Kansas City quite a bit, but has some limitations, has a drop issue. One of the reasons I didn't have him as a first-round talent on my board. They come back with Tui Piloto from USC, who is a power edge, undersized tweener. And that's the nicest thing that I can call him. For those of you who need the code, tweener is bad, hybrid is good for guys who don't have an actual position fit. So just, a little inside baseball right there. They come back with Diane Henley, who is a very specifically built like a strong safety, dime, maybe nickel linebacker. They're going to try to use him to keep pace with Travis Kelce. That is one of the reasons they made this selection. Then they come back with the only guy who's got true speed on this, with Darius Davis from TCU as well, a kick returner. Go ahead.
I just was going to say good luck to Henley. It never seems to
he's
work
gonna
well
need
for
it.
people that try to get drafted to guard Travis Kelce. But good luck.
Right to the wolves they're feeding him. They come back with Jordan McFadden, a guard from Clemson, in the 5th round. That's about where I had him, so at least that one they hit. They come back with Scott Matlock from Boise State, and they finish with Max Duggan, the quarterback from TCU, who obviously on a team with Justin Herbert has no chance of ever playing, and quite frankly, I think should be an H-back in this league because he's gutsy, he can run with the ball, and I think he's got some put the team on my shoulders kind of thing. Does anything about that draft class scare you?
I think it's interesting mainly because I start looking at this draft class and I go, okay, so they bring in Quentin Johnston, and more than likely this means, which we already kind of figured based on the way that they have their salary structure for 2024, Keenan Allen has no chance of being there in 2024. He's gone. So now you have 2 big body wide receivers in Mike Williams and Quentin Johnston. Are you going to have that be your wide receiver core? I mean, yeah, you got some speed with Darius Davis. We'll see if they can develop him. And they've got a couple of other guys. Josh Palmer is one of them. But you went out and you got basically the replacement for Mike Williams, not really a replacement for Keenan Allen, which I find interesting.
I think so as well. And let's be real, Darius Davis is not ready to play offense. He will be a kick returner. If they get him some gadget plays, that's about all that they're going to do with him. So, in effect, they have not put any more speed on their offensive field than they had a week ago. And if you're going to run 3 guys that all have about the same top end, this plays into the Chiefs' bigger, longer corner group. I feel more comfortable playing the Chargers today than I did a week ago.
Well, and I will say it's going to be interesting to see how they get Quentin Johnston involved in the offense in 2023. But without Keenan Allen in 2024, it's going to be even more intriguing to see what they do because there's going to be a lot of questions as to how that's going to work out. But the other thing that's really interesting to me on this is you have to wonder, this is a draft where Brandon Staley is probably on the hot seat going into this year. If they don't produce this year, if they don't win a playoff game or 2, I think he's probably gone, and he should be. I personally think he should have been gone last year. But, hey, congratulations to the Chargers bringing him back. Hopefully you have another mediocre year.
Well, and I feel for Staley because in the end, what did front office give him? They gave him an undersized edge that maybe you think Nwosu's the model that you're going for. Tui Peloto is not ready to do that. He is not ready to confront NFL tackles. If he has to go inside, he's going to get beat up even more. I think this was a drastic overdraft. I had him down in the 4th round because of these mismatches. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have any problem blocking him up. So not a concern there. And Diane Henley, okay, he can turn and run and maybe he can give you some coverage, but that's not enough to save your defense. The rest they spent on offense, except a throwaway down at the 6th round. I don't think they helped Staley either.
Well, no, they didn't help Staley, but the bigger problem that they're going to have, and they got to get figured out over the next couple of months, is what are they going to do with Justin Herbert and his contract? Because if I'm the Chargers, the thing that I am worried about most right now is that Joe Burrow gets done before Justin Herbert gets done. Yeah, because the price is just going up.
Worse and worse and worse. Speaking of worse and worse, the decision-making in Las Vegas isn't getting any better either. We're going to talk about them and those Denver Broncos that I guess had a pick or two because they decided to really piss me off with it. We'll talk about them coming up next. Welcome back. So the Darth Vader Dome is going to get another Texas Tech Red Raider because they took Tyree Wilson, a man who's got a significant foot injury that I heard because he hadn't participated in the draft process at all could have fallen into the 2nd round. Yet the Raiders snatch him up at 7. They come back with Michael Mayer, Byron Young, the DT from Alabama, Trey Tucker, a wide receiver from Cincinnati that I think they overdrafted by 2 rounds. Jacorian Bennett is the one guy that I do think they actually got decent value for that is out on a limb that presents a speed problem for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is going to be a corner for them. I think he's going to start sooner rather than later, and he can turn and run with all the Chiefs receivers right now. But then they come back with Aiden O'Connell as a backup quarterback. That makes sense with who you have manning the helm right now. And then they stole my guy, Chris Smith from the Georgia Bulldogs, who is an undersized robber type, just makes plays kind of dude Gonna make me mad to see him play for the Raiders, but they at least identify some talent there in the secondary. They come back with Amari Burney, from Florida, and then Nesta J. Silvera from D tackle from Arizona State. Some splash players here, some names, but I don't know that they help themselves enough to compete in this division. Do you?
Well, and I want to say this really quick about Christopher Smith. You have to assume that they're going to use him right now. I think that's a huge assumption. The Raiders continuously have used players wrong and have not had somebody that could actually step up. And they really didn't help their defense out a lot. I mean, Tyree Wilson will help. Their edge is going to help them. They may, Brian Young may help them as well. But they needed to draft all defense. The bigger problem that they're going to have is how are they going to play defense in this division against the QBs that they're going to be facing, more specifically against the Chargers and the Chiefs, and how are you going to compete in the rest of the AFC? Look at all the QBs in the AFC that are there that have won playoff games in the recent past. This is going to be a very tough division, and when I look at the Raiders, I'm not necessarily that worried about it, especially considering Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be their starting quarterback. And this is also a situation where you look at this and you go, okay, why didn't they maybe consider taking a QB at 35? Maybe they didn't like Levis. Maybe they didn't like, Hendon Hooker, whatever. You're going to bet on Jimmy Garoppolo?
They certainly are. And Aiden O'Connell isn't going to help you. I hate to tell you there.
Thank you, Josh McDaniels, for taking another AFC West franchise and probably driving it into the ground, would be my guess.
Now, what I think they want to do is they want to see if Michael Mayer can be the next version of Gronk. He is a little bit more athletic. He's not quite as powerful. He is a good blocker. He fits in that mold. But even he is set to not be a starter. He's going to play behind Austin Hooper. Tyree Wilson, who's injured, he's going to play behind Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. They didn't actually get anybody that I can project right now today is going to be in their starting lineup. And I think that says something. So I give them a C- in this particular one. I should have said earlier that I gave the Chargers even worse, a D, in terms of getting something that I think that can affect their outcome.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the Chargers really kind of screwed up their draft. I'll give them a C-. I think that Johnston is going to be the key to their draft. If he's able to hit and they're able to get something out of him eventually, I think that really helps their draft class. But again, I go back to what I said about him. It's the same as having Mike Williams. You have two of the same type of wide receivers that you've invested, huge picks in to go get. So something to watch there. When it comes to this Raiders class, I like Wilson. I think Mayer could be a good tight end, but you're right. Who's going to step in and start right away? More importantly, who's going to step in and really help their defense? Wilson can help in some regards, but they need to completely overhaul that defense. It's been pathetic for years. And the only way that they're going to address it is to draft defense. And this isn't it, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'd probably go with D. I'd probably look at it as D. I like some of the players, but it's the execution and how they're going to be used in the Raider system. And quite frankly, like you said, not having huge starters is hard.
Wilson will be able to get on the field in the NASCAR package. They're gonna bring some of that towards the Chiefs too. Try to test their tackles. Okay, fine. Let's see how that pans out. He does have a lot of length. He's just slow off the ball, and I think that plays right into the Chiefs' hands. And that brings us to the other team that plays in the Chiefs' hands, and that's the aforementioned Fighting Wilsons. I'm going to call them because the Denver Broncos don't really exist anymore because they didn't have a pick until 63 in this particular class. They took Marvin Mims as kind of a KJ Hamler insurance policy. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to try to run across the middle, try to test Nick Bolton, see if they can get some safety matchups in there. We'll see who's actually manning the nickel spot when it comes to it.
So really, I have to question this move because of all the positions you take, you go wide receiver. You have Jerry Jeudy, you have Courtland Sutton, and you have Tim Patrick coming back from injury. And I'm not saying he's going to be great, but you sign him to a long-term deal, you would expect that he's going to be one of your top three wide receivers, and you go draft another guy when you have KJ Hamler. I know you need maybe insurance for Hamler, but come on, that's a little bit rich for me. Out of all the other positions they could have addressed.
You'll get no argument from me. They have starters in Javonte Williams at their tailback spot. I think they could have added something there. Samaje Perine's going to be their backup. They do have Dulcich at the tight end spot, so I think I would have left that off the basis because I do think he's on the way up. but you're still talking Garrett Bowles at left tackle, Ben Powers at guard. Cushenberry, I think, has been playing better, but I do think you could upgrade. And then they signed Mike McGlinchey to their right tackle. They might have wanted to like bolster that a little bit as well. And that's just to help Russ. In the end, the best thing they did for this offense this offseason is bring in our old friend Mike Burton. I'm really not happy about that because now the Broncos have another guy that I want around Kansas City. But that's not where they were done. They brought in Drew Sanders, who's an off-ball linebacker who can rush the passer. Very much in the same vein as Baron Browning that they converted from off-ball backer to edge rusher from OSU a couple years ago. Riley Moss is a corner that I do like, but that's a pretty decent secondary already. So I think that's just making the better. And then they went and did the same thing that the Raiders did and took one of my day 3 safeties in JL Skinner that I think brings the heat and I thought would be perfect in the Shamari Connor role, but we're going to see what happens there. And then they finish off with Alex Forsythe, a depth center that I don't think is really going to have the prowess to be an influence anytime soon in Denver. So in the end, when you got to help Russ, you end up going all defense except for Mims. I don't know if that's enough either. So I'll give them a slight uptick in that you were behind the 8 ball in not having top picks before 63. But this is a solid C to me. I don't see anything scary on this at all.
I'd give it a C-, and I would argue with you, though, that the best thing that they did for their offense is bring in Sean Payton. I understand why. Yeah, I understand you like your boy Burton, but I think Payton is going to be a much better coach than Hackett was. Now, whether or not he can actually get Russell Wilson to be a good quarterback again is a whole other question. And the bigger question I have when it comes to Wilson is it sure looked like his athleticism that made him such a good quarterback for so long is really gone at this point. If they're able to bring that back, that changes things, and maybe they're able to get something done and they're able to compete. But right now, you're right. They don't have many picks, but wasting your highest pick on a wide receiver that at best you would hope is number 5. If Hamler's healthy and Patrick's healthy, is Mims even the top 5 wide receiver on your team?
Probably not.
And that's your highest pick.
Yeah, I can understand why Denver fans are probably frustrated. I see them we'll talk about projections here, but I don't see them making a whole lot of progress other than, like you said, the aforementioned coach does make a big difference. But again, this is another team that didn't draft anybody that looks to be a day 1 starter. It's depth and development. And so I think no challenge to the Kansas City Chiefs. So let us know what you guys think. Who did the best out of the AFC West foes? Who frustrated you the most? Because I'm pretty evenly spread across this whole dang division. But before all the hype starts about the Los Angeles Chargers, just thought we'd get this in for you guys and give you an idea. Now, tomorrow we're going to take a look at the rookie camp invites. Monday, we're going to have reaction to what happened at rookie camp. And hopefully we'll have some signing news by then as well. So make sure that you're liked, subbing, and you're on the bell here so you get a notification when we do put new content up, because it is 5 days a week around here. And make sure that you are tuned in because the 2023 season starts tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you then.